Migration is one of the ways through which certain nations were formed, certain nations were made, and most importantly, certain destinies are changed. Hi, beautiful people. You're welcome back again to my channel. My name is Yabbies, and the name of this channel, as always, is Yabbies Own. In this video, I'm just going to talk about things that are happening in 2025 that may make moving to Hungary a bit difficult, in my opinion, and a few other things you may or may not need to know. Just sharing with you my opinions about moving to Hungary in 2025 and some of the challenges you're likely going to face. Of course, the immigration policies around the world are being tightened up. You go to Canada, is tightening up. You go to the UK, it's tightening up. US, pretty much all around the world. And I pretty much understand in a way, because every country has a government. Your first responsibility and your first loyalty is to your citizens. So you have to take care of your citizens first before you take care of everyone else. But then if you are outside your home country, outside the country where you're a citizen of, and you find yourself in another country, then it's like you fall among the outliers. And in Hungary, we are usually called the third country nationals. It's not a terminology I pretty much like, but yeah, if you're a third country national, you're pretty much not a citizen of Hungary, not a citizen of the EU, so you are a third country national. Or better still, let me just read the definition of third country national from the official OIF page. Definition of third country nationals: non-Hungarian nationals who are not persons with the right of free movement and residence. This means who are not EEA nationals or family members of an EEA national, and stateless persons. So pretty much this is who a third country national is. And if you fall into this category, changing policies in Hungary are ongoing. And it's interesting because sometimes you see questions being asked and there's no definite answers. Like, even sometimes lawyers and knowledgeable people don't really have all that information because the law is still being promulgated, or the law has been translated in a way which is not so clear. So you see that there's always new information coming up, and it can be a bit disturbing if you follow through with one information and then the next time there's another information. For example, recently there was the Hungarian card that was introduced into the system, and then one of the concerns about it was that it's Hungarian card or Magyar card. It's a form of work permit, and you can only qualify for the work permit as long as the degree you hold does not come from Hungary. Yes. So when that information came, everybody was questioning, like, no, are you trying to tell me that your country's degrees are not even worth it in your own country? So then there was all that confusion about. So there was so much back and forth with some lawyers on open forums on the internet. And sometimes a lawyer will come and say, oh, that is false information. Hungarian degrees are recognized for this card. And then later I will come, Hungarian degrees are not recognized for this card. Well, as it stands today, per the latest information I have as at the time I'm recording the video, for the Hungarian card or the Magyar card, it's a kind of work permit, and you will not qualify for it if you have a Hungarian degree. So let's say you have a master's from Hungary. If you have a degree from Hungary, it will not qualify. So let's say you have a master's from Hungary, and likely you have a degree from another country, you may try it. But that also comes with limitation. I hear it's limited and focused on specific areas of interest where there's shortages and everything. Now, the whole idea for this, in my opinion, I think, is just to reduce the population of students who are seeking employment after school. So most of the time, what happens is when you're a student, ideally, you come to school, you study, and then you go back home. But also, some people would like to integrate into society, stay in the Hungarian society. Some people may even get married while they're still in school, find their love interest, so they would like to continue staying here. There are so many ways through which you can stay here after school, but then it's the process to get there that can be a bit cumbersome. Like I would always say, do your own research, find out the information for yourself. I'm not a legal person, I'm not a legal authority, I'm just a resident here who is privy to some of the information and processes, ways and means, so I'm just coming from a layman's perspective. So pretty much what standardly happens is, in an ideal situation, you may finish school and then you have a job in waiting, so you get your work permit process for the job. But however, there are situations where by the time you finish school, there's no work permit anywhere. I mean, there's no work anywhere. You can't find anywhere. So then there's something called a job seeking visa. So usually you are expected to apply for it around 45 days to the date of expiry of your student card. Okay, so let's say your student card is expiring in July. It's advised to apply for it latest by the end of June. However, if you apply later, there's something called an apology letter. You may write an apology letter, pretty much an explanation of why you have applied late, and then you attach it to your application, and usually there's no issues. So with a job seeking visa, it gives you a limited number of months you can stay, and this is usually calculated based on the amount of funds you have in your account. So the amount of funds that would carry you through the period of waiting, it's factored into the number of months you will be given. Usually has a maximum of 9 months. Some people are given 2 months, some may get 4, 5, 6. So it fluctuates, and it depends on so many different factors. But one of the top ones I know is how much you have in your account. Also, when you're applying for a job seeking visa, you have to provide evidence that you're looking for a job, and that may include what emails you have sent for a job applications you have done, rejection emails, all things that show you are applying for a job, in addition to all your other kinds of requirements that you need. Now, so when you get a job seeking visa, if you're lucky, you may find a job during the job seeking visa process, and then you can continue with that, change your permit, etc, etc. But if you don't find a job after, you may have to go back home or find ways and means to legally remain in this country. So that's one thing, one of the hiccups that I was talking about. So the conversation around the Hungarian card, I think it's just to reduce the number of students who stay here after school, because there are lots of students who come here to study. Hungary has one of the best schools for medicine, Semmelweis, and some other schools. So there are a lot of people who come here for cheaper, not cheaper, but relatively compared to other parts of the world, good services. I mean, good training in medicine, which can be compared to other schools in other parts of the world. So people come here. We also had the influx of students from Ukraine about 2-3 years ago when the war broke out, who also came here to study. Of course, there's the Stipendium Hungarian program, where scholarships are being handed out to third country nationals, or people, not necessarily just third country nationals, but people to just come in here and study. So a lot of students come in here, and I think there's a lot of students influx into the job market, and they're trying to find a way to curb it. So I think the Hungarian card is one of the ways to curb it. Most of these changes, I believe, are coming about as a result of the recent population census that was carried out. So much so that in a whole district, they noticed that so many foreigners were living in a district in Budapest compared to the actual Hungarian people. And of course, when you have foreigners taking over your job, you put your citizens first. You just find ways and means to ensure that your citizens are well taken care of and well prepared. So some of these laws may not always be favorable to us. Also, we have so many visas that have been changed, renamed, scraped out of the system, with new ones introduced. The Hungarian card, for instance, was recently introduced into the system. Okay, so that is one of that. We also have the EU blue card, which is usually for high skilled people, and it also is aligned to your FEOR code. So it's a working code that numbers or categorizes your level of qualification in the workforce. So if you're a manager here, you'd have a work code. You have a FEOR code. If you're a salesperson, you have a different kind of FEOR code. If you're a waiter, waitress, if you're a doctor, you all have your own FEOR code. And so for the EU blue card, you have to be a highly skilled person, and also your salary should meet the EU blue card requirement. Your salary should meet the EU blue card requirement. So in an ideal situation, imagine you finish school and you already have a job waiting for you with an EU blue card offer. Perfect, you're good to go. But it doesn't really happen that you're coming right out of school and you already have an EU blue card waiting for you. It's very rare. So some of these things make it difficult living in Hungary. You finish school, you don't find a job. You finish school, your job seeking visa is about to expire. Let's say you even get a job, and then the job is not able to support you to get an EU blue card. So there's so many things that just are making it difficult for third country nationals to move into Hungary this year. Also, we have the guest work permit, which is mainly limited to, or it's mainly associated with unskilled labor or manual labor. And with that, they're actually even reducing the number of years, reducing the number of years, and also reducing the number of workers that can get it. In 2025, they are limiting it to just 35,000 people. So only 35,000 people can gain access to the guest work permit. And after 2 years, is it 2 or 3 years after working on the guest work permit, you have to go home. And if you want, you can apply again from your home country. Yes, and also with the guest work permit, you are not entitled to apply for long-term long-term permits like the EU permanent residence or even the Hungarian permanent residence. You can't bring your family over. You can't really do family reunification, etc. So that is also one of the challenges of the guest work permit. Unfortunately, not everybody is able to get an office job right after school. So you may work in these low-skilled, low labor, manual labor or low labor jobs which require the guest work permit. But so this also limits you in a way, because after the 2-year program, you're expected to go home unless you find a loophole you can actually use. So these are some of the things that's making it difficult to live in Hungary in 2025. Last year new laws were introduced. This year new laws have been introduced. We don't know what's going to happen next year, but also this year one of the requirements for you to gain long-term residency in Hungary is to partake in a cultural exam. um it's interesting to know that as of today, nobody has information about what kind of cultural exam you'll be having or when. So there's so much questions being asked and nobody has a definite date, at least on the forums that I'm privy to. So previously, before you can apply for the national permanent residence, which is the Hungarian permanent residence, you should have lived in Hungary for a certain number of years. Usually it's 3 years, and you should prove your interest in Hungary. You should back your application with facts, meet the requirements of the OIF, and also back your application with facts to prove that, oh, you deserve this national permanent residence. And also there's also the EU permanent residence, which previously was the EC permit or EC permanent residence. EC permanent resident, ECPR, but now it's known as the EU residence card. No, yes, and with that you can qualify after a minimum of 5 years living in Hungary. And if you're a student, your student years count as half. So let's say you want to apply for the EU permanent resident and you did your degree for 4 years. That means that the years counted during your degree in Hungary would be 2, because it's counted in half, and then every other year would be counted in full. Exactly. So that's one of the things. And previously you didn't need to do any cultural exam. You just need to provide the necessary details, write a cover letter to tie in everything together in your application. And hitherto there was no cultural exam required, but beginning this year, all applications for national permanent residence, European permanent residence, require you to engage in a cultural exam. The cultural exam, from what I hear, is most likely going to happen in Hungarian language, and you're supposed to answer questions about cultural stuff in Hungary, which I think is to make the interviewers and the immigration office know that you are well integrated into the country and you know what it's about. But information on that is not out yet, and so there's a lot of concerns and questions. And also in these applications, your application can get rejected. It can get rejected, maybe a missing document or you didn't explain something well. So yeah, the bureaucratic nature of some of these applications may also discourage you from coming to Hungary or staying in Hungary this year. This year also, there's been some restrictions in the number of people who are entitled to some kind of visas, unless you are from Ukraine, Georgia, and Armenia, or your country has some kind of official organization, which people are asking whether is that an embassy or not. But people are like, should be like an official representative organization in your home country linked to Hungary that has something to do with labor and etc. It's pretty deep, and it's not even straightforward for even the Hungarian lawyers who know what's happening in the system. So these are some of the things that's making it increasingly difficult to move to Hungary in 2025, or to continue to stay in Hungary in 2025. And I'd just like to say that if you want to come to Hungary this year, just make up your mind, know exactly what you want, and start handling it right from day one. If your plan is to come to school, go back home and do something, fine. If your plan is to come here, do a few things here and there. Maybe you want to gain some foreign work experience or something after some number of years that can be of value to you back home, also do that. If you plan to stay here in the long term, also do that. In my opinion, migration is not bad. Migration is good. Migration is one of the ways through which certain nations were formed, certain nations were made, and most importantly, certain destinies are changed and are going to change. So it's important to have your facts right. How do you even call it in business terms? There's a terminology for that, but just do your analysis, okay? Do your profit and loss analysis. Just analyze Hungary, analyze other countries which you would also consider, weigh the pros and the cons, and then make a good choice. Of course, immigration policies are tightening all around the world, but that doesn't mean you should not travel. Of course not. So just read read the news, go on the official Hungarian immigration pages, read more about that. I'm not a legal authority, so do your own research, find out more, join forums, ask around, and most importantly, always make sure you're getting your information from the right source. So I'm going to try and link below some important links that can help you get more information about Hungary. Important Facebook groups I recommend you join just to get some updates if you're interested in coming to Hungary, or if you're already in Hungary and you want to stay here further, or you want some information about your future in Hungary. I would encourage you to do so. I would also like to say that all hope is not lost. Once there's a will, there is a way, and like I said at the beginning, every country definitely would prioritize their citizens first. Oh, and there's also one thing I'd like to mention. There's also the labor demand certificate. So pretty much when the company in Hungary wants to hire you, they have to provide a document to the Hungarian government which shows the labor demand, that they have searched all of Hungary and they did not find anyone who could do the job that they are going to employ you for. Exactly. So that's also one of the things that make it bureaucratic. So the company has to prove why they are choosing to work with you and deal with that. Also, with these changing laws, some companies don't even know what the exact stand is, and they're letting people go. They're letting people go because maybe the people there don't meet the EU Blue Card standard or the Hungarian Card standard. They're letting people go because they also don't want to deal with the stress of all these new laws and what it entails. So they'll rather let you go and just find a Hungarian who will fit in with less stress. So these are all the things to consider before you make your decision. But all hope is not lost. As always, my name is Naya Bole. I'll try to answer questions if you have them, but I also put links in there and I'll ask you to do your own research. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Adios. Bye.